The verdict on Benghazi from a Democrat-run Senate Intel Committee. Al-Qaeda groups did it. It could have been prevented. And a lot of unanswered questions lead directly to Hillary Clinton and the White House. This is Special Report. Good evening, I'm Brett Baer. For the first time, we're learning tonight that members of two al-Qaeda terror affiliates were involved in the deadly attack on the U.S. facilities in Benghazi, Libya, 16 months ago. That is one of the shocking highlights from the Senate Intelligence Committee report released today. Its chair, Democratic Senator Dianne Feinstein. Some of the other highlights matching the Republican-led House Armed Services Committee transcripts we brought you earlier this week. It was known almost immediately that the attacks were not an outgrowth of a protest over a video. However, the importance of that intelligence was minimized. And to this day, the State Department has refused to provide the Senate committee with key witnesses and documents. Chief Intelligence Correspondent Catherine Herridge has more specifics.
The new Senate report blows apart claims that the Benghazi attack was the work of local militias with no formal terrorist connections.
Several al-Qaeda members emerged as kind of leaders of the pack.
Saxby Chambliss, the ranking Republican on the Senate Intelligence Committee, says the former Guantanamo detainee Sufyan bin Kumu, first identified by Fox News as a suspect 16 months ago, was at the heart of the operation.
Certainly Kumu was very much involved in the planning of this.
Is he a member of al-Qaeda?
Well, he is a member of a group that is affiliated with al-Qaeda, so in my mind, that makes him al-Qaeda.
There were 7 reports from the CIA and Defense Intelligence Agency between June 12th and September 7th, 2012 about the growing cooperation between al-Qaeda's regional affiliates and terrorists on the ground in Libya. And while the CIA ramped up security, the State Department did not.
It could have been prevented and should have been prevented.
The committee sought a State Department classified cable, first reported by Fox News, that summarized an emergency meeting in Benghazi 1 month before the assault, which warned al-Qaeda training camps were operating, and the consulate could not defend against a coordinated attack.
They resisted for a long time in providing it to us, but at the end of the day, we did secure the cable.
Chambliss says it's part of a pattern where the State Department continues to block access to witnesses and documents that could explain whether a White House meeting on the day of the assault between then Defense Secretary Panetta, Secretary of State Clinton, the Vice President, and briefly President Obama set the marching orders.
We've been stonewalled on that question. We've asked time and again, who was in the meeting and what was the substance of that meeting? And we have not gotten answers to that.
The administration continues to hang its hat on a very narrow definition of al-Qaeda, which encompasses the leadership in Pakistan known as the core.
We still have no indications that core al-Qaeda was involved in directing or planning this attack, and I think you're generalizing a little bit about the warnings.
Senator Dianne Feinstein, who leads the committee, said she hopes the report will put to rest the conspiracy theories and political accusations. White House Press Secretary Jay Carney said the findings reinforce what other investigations have found, but Carney failed to address one of the most significant findings, that Benghazi was an al-Qaeda-led event. Brett.
Catherine, thank you. We'll stay on it. The family of an American soldier seen in a video intercepted from his terrorist captors, but not yet in the public domain, is again pleading for his release. A senior defense official tells the Associated Press video of Army Sergeant Bo Bergdahl was found several days ago. The Idaho native was taken prisoner in Afghanistan in June of 2009. Senior officials tell Fox News Bo appears shaken and gaunt. He makes a reference to the recent death of Nelson Mandela, which we're told is done for the purpose of dating the images. It's believed that Bo is being held somewhere in Pakistan. Carnage today in Iraq. A series of bombs has left dozens dead and fear of al-Qaeda at the highest point since American troops pulled out 2 years ago. Senior Foreign Affairs correspondent Greg Palcott has the story tonight from London.
It was one of the bloodiest days in Iraq in months. Over 75 people were killed in 9 insurgent attacks across the country. The busy Karata neighborhood of Baghdad hit by 2 blasts, including a car bomb which left many dead and injured. North of Baghdad, near the town of Bakuba, a funeral was targeted. 18 killed in that attack. And to the west of Baghdad in Fallujah, the standoff between government troops and al-Qaeda-linked militants continues. A police station and bridge were hit in recent days. All this violence bringing back vivid memories of the worst days of bloodshed back in 2006 and 2007. In a TV address today, embattled Iraqi Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki pledged a fight to the finish.
This battle is a sacred battle, which is launched in the defense of sanctities. It will be long and it will continue.
Maliki this week said his forces could still use more light and heavy artillery, the U.S. is rushing delivery of drones, and a limited number of missiles. In a visit to Iraq this week, Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Zarif also offered his country support. Military hardware has been promised as well. Analysts say more outreach is needed by the Shia Muslim-led government of al-Maliki and the Sunni Muslim minority. This week, al-Maliki offered to back Sunni tribal leaders in their fight with the militants. Few have been following recent events in Iraq more closely than those who put themselves in harm's way to try and make it a safer place. Like retired Sergeant Clayton South. We were embedded with him and the Marines of India Company during the invasion of Fallujah in 2004. He was badly hurt and now runs an organization supporting injured veterans.
And all the brothers, that didn't return home and all the lives that were damaged and destroyed, it's very disheartening. We feel like they left us behind. We feel betrayed.
Yet one more footnote to Iraq 2004. The Marines tell Fox News they are investigating the veracity of photos purportedly showing U.S. troops burning corpses in Fallujah at the time. They were posted online today. The spokesman went on to say that if wrongdoing is found, those troops could be prosecuted. Brett.
Greg Palcott live in London. Greg, thank you. Let's get some thoughts on the increasing violence in Iraq and who's responsible from senior political analyst Britt Hume. Good evening, Britt.
Hi, Brett. Iraq's descent once more into a chaotic and violent place where al-Qaeda runs free may now be unavoidable. Much of the blame must go to the Maliki government for its mismanagement of the country's political affairs and alienation of the minority Sunni Muslim population. It is worth remembering, however, that al-Qaeda in Iraq suffered a humiliating defeat, thanks in large part to U.S. forces surged into that country at the end of the Bush administration. What was bequeathed to President Obama was an Iraq described as recently as last September by the U.S. State Department as a, quote, key partner for the U.S. in the region, as well as a voice of moderation and democracy in the Middle East. But it hardly seems to be that now. Not only did President Obama pull all U.S. troops out of the country after failing to negotiate an agreement to allow a residual force to stay, he has generally acted since as if Iraq did not exist. With the place now in crisis, the administration wants Congress to approve the sale of Apache helicopters and is sending other armaments to the Maliki government. Congress may or may not agree on the helicopters, but one thing is certain: there is now no support for sending U.S. forces back into the country. Perhaps the Maliki government can repel the terrorists on its own. But even if it does, relations with Washington are at low ebb, and the influence of Iran is clearly on the rise there. The strategic gains gained by considerable U.S. blood and treasure are fast disappearing. Brett?
What about the political consequences of all this happening now?
Well, clearly the poor governance of the Maliki administration gets a lot of the blame here. But this is a place where al-Qaeda was clearly defeated. It was a major defeat. If it returns there, questions are going to be asked about how could this happen. This administration is saying that al-Qaeda is on the run. They make distinctions about what's core al-Qaeda and what's not. But if al-Qaeda ends up having a free run in Iraq, there are going to be questions about that, and people are going to want to know why.
Okay, Britt, thank you. Well, what do you think the U.S. should do about Iraq? Let me know at facebook.com/BrettBairSR or on Twitter @BrettBair. You can use the hashtag Special Report. Up next, is President Obama the solution or the problem? We'll find out what Americans think. But first, here's what some of our Fox affiliates across the country are covering tonight. Fox 32 in Chicago, where the city council there has voted to ban the use of e-cigarettes anywhere smoking is prohibited. E-cigarettes will also be moved behind retail store counters, and their sale to minors there will be outlawed. WPRI in Providence says the daughter of a New Jersey woman whose casket contained the wrong body says DNA tests will be performed to determine if her mother was accidentally cremated in Canada. And this is a live look at Dallas from KDFW. The big story there tonight, an update on the lawsuit filed by the family of a brain-dead pregnant woman. They want to take her off life support, but Texas law prohibits that because of the pregnancy. That's tonight's live look outside the Beltway from Special Report. We'll be right back.